scripture today is from Hinduism, Chandogya Upanishad 687. That which is the finest essence. This whole world has that as its soul. That is reality. That is the self. That art thou. So ends the reading. There are many times when our intuition gives us a nudge in one direction or another. We might call this a gut feeling. Less frequently, we have epiphanies, a sudden manifestation or perception of the essential nature or meaning of something, just one of those aha moments. It can be difficult to explain and or prove how these feelings originate. We live most of our lives with our consciousness in the physical. By necessity, we direct most of our attention to taking care of our immediate primary needs, eating, sleeping, going to work. In the consciousness of our daily to-do list, the concept of our soul or the recognition of our connection to a higher power can feel fleeting at best. The Webster Dictionary defines metaphysics as the philosophical study of the ultimate causes and underlying nature of things. In seminary, we used a book by Manly Hall, who writes, "The study of the visible universe is called physics. The study of the invisible universe is called metaphysics." Metaphysics includes such things as the nature of being, the nature of God, the nature of knowledge, the nature of truth, of energy, of creation, and interestingly, the nature of divine and human relationships. Metaphysical topics, being defined as unseen, can be hard to get your arms around and are subject to your personal experience and your own interpretation of these unseen experiences. In the study of metaphysics, one of the books that I often refer to is the Kybalion. And the Kybalion is a book that summarizes the Hermetic teachings of the ancient Egyptian mystery schools. Hermes is said to have originated and taught Hermetic principles. Some writers say that he was a contemporary of Abraham. He was revered for his wisdom. The Hermetic principles were practiced thousands of years before Jesus. Many biblical scholars believe Jesus spent several years in Egypt studying in the mystery schools. The Kybalion states that there are 7 principles that explain the way the universe operates, and that people can learn to use these 7 principles to their advantage. A quick summation of the philosophy of Hermeticism. The universe is mental. The 7 Hermetic principles prove or provide us an understanding that allows us to modify and transform our states of mind and emotion. Today I'll touch quickly on all 7 principles and delve into more detail on 2 of them. You will recognize similar ideas in your study of many religions and spiritual thinkers. These ideas were formulated over 6,000 years ago, and many people think that almost all religions used these as their base. The principles for the Hermetics was taught as a philosophy. And what they meant was inquiring after knowledge of things knowable and thinkable. And to eliminate any confusion between a secular philosophy or a specific religion, they do not refer to God in their philosophy. The all is the Hermetic term for the substantial reality of the universe. The all is the infinite intelligence that creates order, that is in every atom and everything we do and see. The first Hermetic principle is mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. I could restate it, the substantial reality of the universe is mental. The concept of the all can be compared to the concept of an omnipotent, all-knowing God. This first principle is very similar to our United Metaphysical Church's first principle, which is we believe in God as infinite intelligence. with infinite intelligence being defined as all the phenomena of nature, physical and metaphysical, unseen. Repeating the first principle, the all is mind, the universe is mental. The second principle of the Kybalion is correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. This principle expresses that there is always a correspondence between the different planes of life. There are planes of energy beyond our knowing, but when we apply the principle of correspondence, we can understand much that would otherwise be unknowable. This principle, as above, so below, expresses the same logic as a part of the Lord's Prayer. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. As below, so above, on earth as it is in heaven. The all, infinite intelligence, is omnipresent and applies on all planes of energy. Examples of planes of energy are the physical planes, the mental planes, and the spiritual planes. And there are many subdivisions between all of those. The first two principles of the Kybalion, everything is mental and as above, so below. It may not feel very scientific, more philosophic. The third through the seventh principles help build a foundation that supports these first two broad principles. The third principle, the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Thousands of years ago, the masters of ancient Egypt understood what modern science has proven. Everything is made of atoms, and the only difference in anything in the universe is the rate of vibration. The electrons and protons of the atoms are always moving. With varying the amount of energy, we can increase or decrease that rate of vibration. The rate of vibration is the determining factor on which plane and which subdivision of a plane anything in the universe occupies. A simple example is water. If we slow down the vibration of water, if we take out the energy, it'll freeze into a solid. If we increase the energy, it'll vaporize. It'll go right into a gas. In all these various states of water, solid, liquid, and gas, the atoms are still water, but the atoms are vibrating at different rates. The states of water, as either ice, liquid, or gas, are all identical in nature. This is an important thing to remember. It's identical in nature, but vary according to the amount of energy affecting the atoms. This principle of vibration applies to everything in the universe. As above, so below. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Vibration applies to the way we feel, the way we think. Our openness to intuition, to those epiphanies, to those gut feelings. We have all heard the expression, he is a hothead, he is a cold fish. Vibration affects everything in the universe. The fourth principle, the principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has its poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. The principle of polarity. Again, we can use water as an example. If you think of a pole, on one end, we've got it really cold and the water's ice. We add a little energy, it becomes liquid. We add more energy, and it becomes a gas. And we know the water can always go back and forth depending on the temperature. Everything has its pair of opposites. We can use an emotional example of love and hate. The spectrum could run from love to, I kind of like, I'm not really sure, I kind of dislike, I hate. And it's all identical in nature. It just matters where you are in that spectrum. We know how you can be really lovey-dovey with someone and they do something and immediately the whole thing changes. Everything in life has an opposite that is identical in nature. These spectrums are items that are identical in nature but different in degree. Some other examples: rich and poor, light and dark. In light and dark, where's it become neutral? Happy and sad, hot and cold. And again, what's hot here on earth is cold compared to the sun. What's cold here on earth is warm compared to outer space. Everything has an opposite on all planes. The fifth principle, the principle of rhythm. So the principle of rhythm works hand in hand with the principle of polarity, that everything has an opposite. And the fifth principle reads, everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. We know in our own lives that our relationships, our mental attitudes, our health do not stay constant, but flow in a rhythm from pole to pole. The time interval of the swing, it can be minutes, it can be hours, days, years, or lifetimes. Our moods and our level of enthusiasm are examples of ways of being that constantly change. And the swings in our state of minds and our emotions can be difficult to understand or control. Something can set us off and we can all of a sudden just swing way over here, assuming a pendulum is everything and everything has a polarity. It can go back and forth very quick or very slow. Our thoughts and emotions are subject to this fifth principle, the law of rhythm. But being aware of the Hermetic principles, a person can use those other principles to modify and mitigate the effect of this principle of rhythm. We can alter the natural flow of our emotions from swinging to the extremes of the poles. We have heard of alchemy and the legendary search for a way to change base metals to gold. In the Kybalion, the Hermetics, alchemy is defined as mental alchemy, learning to have some control over the natural rhythms of life. The teaching is that using our own mental power, we can learn to override this natural rhythm of the swing between the poles. And you can learn to master these techniques. The sixth principle, cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to the law. Chance is but a name for a law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. Again, be it physical, be it spiritual, everything is subject to all of these principles. There are no miracles. There are causes and effects that we don't understand. An example is gravity. We know gravity exists, but we don't understand how it works. Every action and every thought you have also has an effect, even if you're not aware of it. We might envision every person as a center of energy, creating their own gravity of thoughts, emotions, and presence. And with our thoughts and emotion, we pull that same energy from the ethers to ourselves. We create our own gravity, our own energy. There's always a cause and effect. Each individual is the creator and the center of the universe, created by their own thoughts and actions. The seventh principle, the principle of gender. Gender isn't everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. This principle is referring to the phenomena of generation, regeneration, and creation at all levels. The all, infinite intelligence, created the universe. In a similar manner, but on a lower level of energy, we create in our own planes of existence, as above, so below. Generation and regeneration work at all levels. In the book, From Bacteria to Bach and Back, The Evolution of the Mind, the author Daniel Dennett refers to the ability of memes to reproduce culturally and not genetically. Memes reproducing. Memes spread copies of themselves in the minds of the host. How many here this week have used a meme? You did a text and you stuck in a little prayer or a happy face, or, we do it. And when we send it, the person getting it sees it and they start using them. Are they regenerating? That's the principle of gender. Everything has the principle of gender. Songs and phrases can do the same thing. The author suggests words may parasitically occupy human brains to further their own reproductive goals. How many times have you gotten a song stuck in your head? It won't go away. What a wild idea. Gender and the power to create or multiply is in everything. Songs, memes, words, actions. You think of AI now, the artificial intelligence. They can make up anything, and it regenerates itself. Today, a lot of attention is focused on influencers. An 8-year-old playing with toys can have millions of followers. What is the effect on society and individuals from constantly being exposed to social media? An idea, a picture, a value that is continually present will have an effect on the individual and, by extension, society. And we know these effects, they can be beneficial or they can be detrimental. But you're the only one. Each individual is the only one that control what information you're taking in. And again, the principle of gender manifests on all planes. Now I'd like to circle back into more detail on the fourth and fifth principles, the polarity and rhythm. Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. And rhythm, everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. Our moods, our relationships, our energy level, our mental and physical capacities are all subject to these two principles, polarity and rhythm. Nothing just stays in the middle. Everything's moving. Our mood could change every minute. Our energy level may be recharged each week with a weekend break, or each year with a vacation. Our relationships may subtly change with children, career changes, personal interests. Our physical and mental capabilities may peak in midlife and slowly weaken with age. An example of polarity and rhythm are the seasons of the year. We have no control over the seasons, but in the winter we can dress warmly and control the effect of the cold. In the summer, we dress for hot weather. We can modify the effect that the natural swings of the seasons have on us. All aspects of our lives are subject to the principles of polarity and rhythm. The Kybalion teaches that we can recognize these patterns and use the other principles to avoid the natural swings between the poles. These principles can be used in the same manner as we dress warmly in the winter. The Kybalion uses that example of a pendulum to visualize the principles of polarity and rhythm and their effects on our lives. I find the example really helpful in trying to apply the principles of the Kybalion. Imagine there's a pendulum that hangs, it's about a foot above your head, and it hangs down to around the top of your thighs. And it can always be swinging. And there could be a whole lot of pendulums. There's different pendulums for different parts of your life. It continually swinging back and forth. And no matter what the movement is, whatever the movement is to the left is the same to the right. It's always compensating. And notice that as this pendulum moves, the distance at the bottom is a lot farther than the distance at the top. When it's swinging down here, it's swinging a lot. Many of you are familiar with the concept of the chakra energies. The analogy is that the location of the pendulum corresponds with the energy on the chakra center it is close to. The chakra energy centers being the top of your head, consciousness, spiritual understanding, your forehead, intuition, your throat, communication and creativity, your heart, love, peace and empathy, the solar plexus, willpower, the sacrum, desire and sexuality, and the root, the survival instinct. If you're not familiar with the chakra system, you can relate to the idea of being near the brain, your thoughts, the communication at the throat, love at the heart, survival and strength in your lower torso. We have all felt our heart energies. We know a broken heart can be felt in your body. How about fear? Sometimes you get so scared you can't move. It almost stops you from moving. You can feel it down in the lower part of your body. The emotion of fear, the fight or flight. Man, all of a sudden you get strong and something happens. That pendulum is sitting there just nice and calm, and something happens, and it just, you just naturally get that fight or flight. When we understand the principle of polarity, everything has an opposite, and rhythm, there's always a natural movement between the two poles, we can begin to understand that swings and emotions are natural. This is always going to happen. But we learn to recognize them and learn to control those swings. Last night I was thinking I was almost going to call you and say to change your song afterwards to Frank Sinatra, That's Life, you know? Riding high in April, shot down in May. You know, you have months and years like that, but it's just natural. It's just what happens to us. When things are going great, a new relationship or a great day at work, you can let your guard down and imagine that energy is just way out here. It feels great. It's going great. Then when you start getting shot down, you can feel it going down. You can feel your energy changing. It's inevitable there will be a swing back. But then we go back. Remember, the universe is mental. We can mentally climb this pendulum. When we feel it going the other way, we can mentally climb that pendulum by raising our vibration, so we don't have to experience everything on the unproductive side of that swing. We raise our vibration by concentrating on the mental and holding the attitude or thought that we want. We are utilizing our understanding of the first Hermetic principle. The universe is mental. We all do this automatically to some degree. We've learned that, if you're at work or you're doing a hobby, you get some relief by just concentrating on one thing. We all do it. Sometimes when you're having the worst days, it's best just to go to work and work, not think about anything else. That's just using this concept in the world. Everything is mental. With our attention on a hobby, a movie, or playing a sport, we don't have time to worry. We literally focus on something else. Everything has its opposite. The principle of rhythm says there is a natural tendency to swing between the poles. Understanding that this is a natural occurrence and learning that you have the ability to moderate the effect of the swings is the teaching of the Hermetic principles, the teaching of mental alchemy. You can change your mental state. Today in the meditation, we'll practice directing our attention and using this idea of the pendulum. The understanding that the substantial reality of the universe is energy, and that our finest essence is this same energy, and that each of us has the ability to direct and control this energy, opens the doors to our unlimited ability to affect our relationship with the universe, with others, and most importantly, with ourselves. We can learn to be open on every plane of energy. Our energy is part and parcel of the universal energy, the all. When we raise or lower our energy, we can move between the varying planes. This explains our ability to experience epiphanies and moments of intuition that seem to come from nowhere. Explaining where those are coming. Understanding is just a higher vibration. It's like when we meditate or when we pray, we're changing our vibration and we're opening to other planes of consciousness. Studying and understanding and applying metaphysical principles on a consistent basis, we can learn to live a more peaceful, joyful, and enlightened life. Blessings.